Simplifying radicals. What is a radical? A radical is just another term for any expression with a square root, a cubed root, or fourth root, etc. So it's this little symbol. This is the square root. A cube root has that little 3. A fourth root has this, etc., etc. Goes on and on forever. All right, some steps. So we're going to be looking at simplifying these square roots. We know that we can put some of these into our calculator and it's going to give us a nice answer. Some of them are going to give us decimal numbers. But, we don't always like decimal numbers. We want things just simplified, not just a number. So here's how we're going to do it. We are going to find the prime factors of the number that is inside the radical. Okay? And then we're going to write down all of the factors underneath the radical symbol, which remember it looks like this. And then we're going to take out pairs of numbers, meaning if the same number shows up twice for square roots, and trios for cubed roots, and quadruplets for fourth roots. Okay. Here in the middle of your note page is a cheat code, our calculator cheat code to be able to find the factors, and I'll show you that in a second. So looking at this one, number 1, if we know our factors and we know some simple cubed roots, not cubed roots, square roots, then we know what the answer here is for number 1, because this is one of our square roots that comes out evenly. Remember, we're looking for pairs. So let's go ahead and find the factors of 49, and we're going to put those right underneath the radical. Using the cheat code, it says menu 3, nope, just kidding, menu, go back, 2, 3, and then you put in the number 49, press enter, and this gives you the factor. This means that our factors of 49 is 7 times 7. 7 times 7. So I am looking at underneath this radical with all my factors, the pairs. So here's 2 7s, so I can pull out 1 7. So underneath their pairs, when I pull them out of the radical, it is just by itself. There's no other factor, so I don't need to put another square root with anything remaining. Something we do need to note is we're going to be leaving these as plus or minus whatever we get. Okay? So we can also check that one with the calculator because it does come out evenly. The square root of 49 is 7. But look at number 5. Square root of 112. That's 10.583. If I asked you for just what the square root is, then this would be an acceptable answer. But I want the radical just simplified. Okay, so that means we need to find the factors. So let's find our factors. Menu 2, 3 of 1, 1, 2. So I'm going to draw my square root. This says that there is 4 2s. So 2, 2, 2, 2, and a 7. Let's make that a little bit longer. So I'm pulling out the pairs. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm left with a 7 underneath. So pulling them out and putting these in front, left with 7 underneath. And I can multiply these out. So 2 times 2 is 4 plus or minus 4 square root of 7. This is going to be our radical in the simplest form. Okay, let's do this one right here. Let's find our factors. Menu 2, 3, 250s. Little calculator is pretty neat. So it tells us we got 1, 2, and then we've got 3 5s. So let's pull out the pairs. We only have 1, 2, so that's going to stay in. Look, we got 2 5s. We have a 5. So let's look and see. We can pull out 1 5. And we got 2 times 5 underneath. I can go ahead and multiply those out. So we're going to have plus or minus 5 square root of 10. All right, let's look at 3. It's got this number outside already. So this is just saying that we're having 2 times the square root of this. Okay, so let's find the square root of 144. Factors. 3, 144. Factors are, so we've got this, and we just got this 2 hanging out front. We got 4 2s, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 3, not 3, but 4 2s and 2 3s. Let's pull out our pairs. We've got a 2, we've got a 2, and we've got a 3. So hanging out front still is this 2, and then I'm pulling out this 2, this 2, and this 3. There's nothing remaining underneath here. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 gives me plus or minus 24. Okay, let's do 1 cube root. Just so we know how to do it. Menu 2, 3, 5, 1, 2. All right. What is my factors? We've got 9 2s. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lost count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, this is a cube root, so remember we're pulling out 3s. So instead of pairs, we're going to group them by 3s. 3 and 3. So I'm pulling out 2 of each of these. So 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, plus or minus 8. All right. Moving on. To make it just a tad more complicated, we're going to be asked to simplify with a negative underneath the radical. So, what does that mean? It means we're going to be having some imaginary numbers. So, up at the top, our notes. When we see this little I, that means it's an imaginary number. And our negative 1 underneath the radical gives you an imaginary number. So we're going to take the negative 1 out of underneath the radical as an I. And then we're going to follow the same steps to simplifying your radicals that we just did. And your answer is going to have that I in it. Don't forget the I in your answer. So let's do it like this. Underneath here, this negative right here is going to come out as a factor of negative 1. Okay? And then we're going to find the factors, menu 2, 3 of 3, 2, 4. We've got 2 2s and 4 3s. Okay. So this is going to come out as an I. And we're going to group by pairs again. And 3. So outside our radical, we've got 2 times 3 times 3 times I. So 2 times 3 gives me plus or minus 18I. This is my answer. So this is what our answers are going to look like. Let's look at number 3. So this is my -1 underneath. Let's find the factors of 44. We got 2 2s and 1 11. So this is coming out as an I. These are grouped together as a 2. Our 11 is left underneath because it's got no other pair. So outside we've got 2I, radical 11. Don't forget your plus or minus outside. This is your answer. Okay, let's look at number 6 because this is the first time we're seeing this variable underneath. And we can still take the square root. So we're still going to be listing all of these factors underneath our radical. So our negative is this -1 right here. Let's find factors of 245. We've got 1 5 and 2 7s. What's our factors of x to the 5th? That means x times x times x times x times x. So we're going to have 5 x's. And then we're just going to do the same thing. This is coming out as an I. 5 does not have any other pairs, so it stays underneath. 7 is coming out because it's got a pair. And then we can pair up our x's. So this is an x, and this is an x. And then this x at the end does not have a pair. So let's pull out what we got. We have 7. We got 2 x's, an I. Underneath here we have 5 left over. Make sure 5 stays under and x stays under. So let's keep simplifying this. We can take this x and multiply them together. So we've got 7 plus or minus 7x squared, I, radical 5x. And this is your answer. Doesn't matter what order you write this stuff in or this in. Technically, no, it doesn't. It just looks better if you put your number first, your variable, and then your I. All right, so remember that you are finding the factors, pulling out pairs or triplets. Maybe if there's a fourth root, then you're going to be pulling out ones that have 4. Remember, when you're pulling it out, even though there's 2 underneath, it comes out alone. Okay? Your answer is plus or minus whatever that number is. It might include a radical still because we're just simplifying. If you put that the answer is 10.58, that is wrong. That's not what we're asking for. Remember, if you've got a negative underneath your radical, it comes out to the outside as an I. I will be included in your answer. All right, let me know if you have questions.